to my channel. Today I would like us to talk about grief. Grief from my point of view, grief from my experience. Maybe I can share with you my story on the biggest loss I've had. There's no big or small loss, but the loss that has had the most impact in my life, what I went through then and what I know now and what I'm learning now and how I'm living and coping with it now. Most of us, if not all, have been through major losses in our lives, especially of loved ones, and it's usually tricky for most people to discuss and share how they're feeling and to navigate life while going through this loss. So hopefully what I share will, maybe you can resonate with it and maybe learn a thing or two on how you can better cope with, or how you can even help someone who's going through grief. Okay, so let's talk about my first human love as a girl, not taking anything away from my mom, was my dad. Actually still is. He was my protector, my cheerleader, my provider, my role model, and long story short, he was basically the apple of my eye. My dad got sick. He was sick for a while and finally he passed on in 2012. I was basically in shock combined with denial since I heard of his passing. Till we laid him to rest, I was actually going through the planning processes like a zombie. My emotions were not there. I was just doing things here and there, planning things here and there, as if whoever I was planning for or organizing for was not related to me whatsoever. I had no way to process or release my grief, and I think this is coupled especially by the fact that I have an introverted personality, so I tend to keep to myself a lot, and I used negative coping mechanisms, which we shall discuss when I'm talking about my depressive period, and I used those to cope with the grief, or rather not cope, but to press down the grief. It has taken me years to accept, no matter how unfair I think it is, to accept and realize that no amount of beating myself up will bring him back, and it's okay to be happy regardless of the fact that he is no longer with me, he's no longer with us. And that has taken me the longest time. You have no idea. Only those who are really close to me would actually understand. So some of the statements that people tell you after you've gone through loss, and I know they're coming from a point of encouragement and trying to help you go through this really big pain you're going through, but most of those words are not encouragement in any sense of the word. They feel like they're dismissing your pain. It feels like no one understands, and that causes one to withdraw even further back into their pain and this dark cloud. So some of the things I've heard, maybe I can share, and everything happens for a reason. Yeah, you need to move on, get over it, get on with life. That's another big one. Grief is not something you move on. Grief is not something you move on. What I've learned is you move through grief, you move with your loved one, but you don't move on from grief. That is one of the saddest things, one of the harshest truths. You don't move on from pain. But some of the things I've used to cope with my grief and my loss and my pain are talking about my loved one. Okay, at first I started with writing down. As I've said, I have an introverted personality, so talking is a bit tricky for me. But a trick I've learned now about talking is I don't have to sit down and say, oh, daddy. No. How I talk is I see something funny, I'm like, oh, like daddy said la la la, like daddy would do la la la, so just finding a way of remembering him through funny situations, funny scenarios, or interesting scenarios. So you get to talk about your loved one, you get to remember your loved one in a positive manner, and they continue feeling alive in your heart, right? Another way is to emulate their attributes. This is something I also try to do. My dad was very giving, so I tend to try and live through him by doing as he would do. He loved himself a lot, he took care of himself, he dressed well, he looked sharp. So that is also something I emulate, and I said, ooh, that's that. You being a shoulder or an ear for someone else, someone going through the same thing, sit down, listen to them, and offer them encouragement from your experience, and let them know it is okay to cry, it is okay to be low, and also it is okay to be happy again, even without your loved one in your life. You can live their life, you can live your life emulating their attributes and celebrating them instead of beating yourself down and up. But it is okay, it is so okay to mourn, and then find ways to come up again and be happy again. You can immerse yourself in your passions. My passions include music, movies, fashion and style. So I listen to inspirational music, be it gospel, be it secular. I listen to the upbeat tones, and I dance around in my room. Sometimes that mood comes in where you're like, oh, washe, yeah, leo nasikia. You feel it, a thing creeping in where that sadness wants to fester. Go to movies, watch a funny movie. I love comedies. I'm always watching comedies. You will not find me near horrors, action, but I love comedies. So the laughter just keeps me going, keeps me alive, keeps me happy. Fashion and style, I do my own creative stuffs. I draw, I paint, I make jewelry, and in that way I live through him. Also find grounding practices. My grounding practices include meditation. I meditate not every day, but once in a while I meditate. Guided meditations, or just my own, just close my eyes and remember the good times, remember the good things, and smile through those memories. I also say my affirmations. I am confident, I am happy, I am healthy, I am living my best life, I am opening myself to every good thing. Those affirmations also bring about this sense of being again, this sense of wholeness again, and tend to put the sadness at the back end. Okay. Prayer to me is key. I pray. The first thing I do when I wake up is pray, because I think that just gives me a strength. I don't understand the strength. I can't say how, but I know it does. I have seen the power of prayer in my life, and praying is one of the biggest tools, even when I'm just frustrated about just everyday things. My job comes with a lot of frustrations, but I would just step aside and say, God, you see my heart, you see how I'm feeling, I give it to you. Carry it for me, help me, lead me, ground me, and may I not lose peace in your name. Just a simple short prayer, anything. I talk to God like He is my buddy who's just sitting next to me, and I have found that it works for me. And you can try it too. I believe it can help if you're a person of faith, or you have a higher power you believe in. Grief is inevitable in our daily lives as human beings, but I've been through deaths, the biggest one being the loss of my dad, but that doesn't have to also be the end of your joy or your peace or your happiness. My goal is to change the message about grief and to help others going through it have an easier-ish and more meaningful transition through this period. To be able to the best of their capability move with their loved one through the grief, not to forget, not to move on, but to continue celebrating them in their everyday life, in their everyday activities, and in their hearts. As I said, I want to make gratitude a tradition in my channel, regardless of the topic that I am talking about, or regardless of what the video I'm posting is about. So for this past few days, I want to acknowledge and thank CDI Gadgets. CDI Gadgets is where I purchased my new fairly new equipment. I am still, by the way, learning to use. I have a lighting, and I have a mic, and I have the stand, call it the tripod. Yeah, so I purchased a few equipment to help me make this channel better for you and better for me, and I want to thank them. I did it online, and they gave me a pay bill number. I was talking to a lady called Alice, and I paid through the pay bill, and they got delivered by Modern Coast. So even the Modern Coast people, thank you so much for bringing my equipment safe from Nairobi to Mombasa. I'd like to thank my mom, Mommy, hi. She is the one who picked my stuff up from town because I was working that night. I wouldn't be able to go to town and come back and go to work. So thank you so much for the support. My 20 subscribers, I have 20 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the love, for the support, for the encouragement. There's so many of you. There's Marianne, there's Deno, my sister, my mom. There's so many people who are encouraging me, and to me, that is the biggest thing. It shows me I'm on the right path, because it's something I wanted to do for so long, but I just didn't have the cojones to do. And no matter how I rumble and tumble and miss my words, and I'm still going to do this, and I know I'm getting better and better. I'm doing the best and I can do for that moment, and doing better when I know better. Thank you all so much for the support, for the love, for the views. God bless you. Thank you. Tudulz.